Hey, Kadra Joe Agora here for apophatic fooding. Apophatic, an unusual Greek word that talks about what God is not. So we talk about cosmopolitan issues, big subjects, and look at them from perspectives of what they're not used to looking at them for. Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, a guy named Voltaire, Katie Bryan, everybody's got interesting points that we could all benefit from, all while we're cooking great stuff on apophaticfooding.com. Hey, Joe Agora here for Apophatic Fooding in the Dome, outside of Hotlanta, Georgia, in Marietta. Dome I built about 1999. Wonderful spiritual place to be doing something like an apophatic cooking show. Apophatic. What kind of a word? I've come across it. Greek derivation talks about what God is not. We're killing each other, fighting over whose God is right and real. But that's not what the show's about. I like the word apophatic because we're going to talk about what food is not or shouldn't be. And we'll go from there without preaching, because there are no rules in apophatic fooding, just guidance or information, hopefully. So fooding is also not a word. Can't find it in the dictionary, but Wikipedia says it's something like feeling and food, fooding. So I like that too. We got the critical thinking part, apophatic, that sometimes will rattle your brain and maybe push a button here now and then. Or then we've got fooding, the feel-good part, the thing that I love about food, everything about it, reading about it, shopping it, cooking it, and even cleaning up. How weird is that? But here we go. Let's get to the food part of this program. Organic brown rice, the center of the known universe for food. Think about it. Everybody knows the Chinese eat about a gazillion tons and keeps the biggest population in the world going. I fell in love with it over the years more and more. Organic brown rice. Forget that white stuff. Doesn't work. Everybody knows they cut off all the vitamins and husks and minerals and fiber. Take brown rice. Organic's better. Mostly for the earth rather than just for you. But the fact that you're not taking in any pesticides that you don't need any more of just kind of helps. Brown rice is just like white rice. The recipe is kind of simple. Most everybody who makes it knows 2 cups of water for each cup of rice, or 2 parts water, 1 part rice. Now, what I'm doing is not measuring, and what I'll explain that for is, you know, you come across these articles where everything in the world is poisoned or poison. The green parts of potatoes are supposed to be bad for you and is bad for you. But like, how many green parts of potatoes do you need before it affects you? No, nobody knows. There's no answer, but it has to be like a truckload of just the green stuff. And rice has arsenic in it. Not a pesticide by nature. No matter where you grow rice, the earth has arsenic in it, and rice loves to draw it out. Now, how much? Again, according to the articles that I read, nobody knows. Thing to do is, not only do you always want to rinse rice once, but taking a cue from the arsenic folks is wind up washing it 2 and 3 times. Supposedly helps. We know, but you know, when something doesn't cost time or money to do it like this, then do it. What's the problem? So you wash it. And then the bigger issue on the arsenic and the rice that I read from this one article was, I figured out, well, instead of 2 cups of water, put 6 cups of water. And what does that do? It makes sense. It kind of dilutes it. If there's arsenic in there and it boils and the water gets absorbed and it all goes back into the rice. So it makes sense to me if you wind up putting a lot extra water and then spilling much of it out after the rice is done, well, maybe the arsenic gets a free ride home. But all of that is, I can't say scientific evidence. This whole program is about creating thought, passing along information, and sharing it. And you decide, research it, and depending on how paranoid you are about things, may help decide. So now we got water, and to add, normally, again, you just put 2 parts in. I'm just going to flood it and throw out the rest. One of the few things that it has you do, putting this extra water in, is you now have to check it for when it's done, kind of like pasta. And just like pasta, al dente, when it's firm, when the rice is firm, but not, let me get some of the technology going here, and my buddy will position the insert so that it's over the rice now. And so the point is, let me start this guy going so we can get boiling. There we go. You see that stuff is working nicely. And we'll bring that to a boil. Where was I? Oh, then you have to taste the rice for being done al dente. Okay, so maybe you can't go get lost and go shopping while your rice is cooking, or they have the ones, the electric ones that I understand were quite nice. Never gone there, never been there, kind of simple in that sense. Maybe one day when I get old and wear purple, I'll give up my handmade fooding for automation. But now that we've got that rice cooking, we'll bring it up to speed, usually something in the 20-minute category, etc. So brown rice is good. Most rice can be boring. Just kind of depends on what it's with, etc. It's a great protein, etc. to have on your plate. I like it better than anything. I can and will eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at times if it's appropriate. I don't force myself to have rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But one thing that's really good, I never met a vegetable I didn't like. I'm a veggie nut. I'm not a vegetarian, but I like my veggies. So what we're going to do now is Agora-ize the rice. You Agora-ize the rice, in my case, by putting vegetables in it, or making what I'll call a not-so-sloppy Joe's dish, when we combine the rice and the about-to-be-made vegetables. Now, the word Agora-ize is another. We've got apophatic, we've got fooding, now we've got Agora-ize. It's not an English class, but I like the word. You make it up. Because you watch television, you see the medicines they got up, they make up words. What is it? I got it written down, Chantix. Chantix. What? That a word? You buy this stuff and it fixes something, although there's 100 disclaimers. It'll cause your heart to stop and itching, your eyes to bleed, and maybe even death. Some of them actually say the medicine can actually cause you to die. Like, what do I want if that's a potential? But Vistoza. Buy some Vistoza. Ask your doctor to describe some Vistoza. I don't even know what it is, but the name. So you Agora-ize it. In your house, you ize it. Whatever you are. Mommy-ize it. It'd be more traditional, but that doesn't stand too much. Sexist pig. So let's get some of the veggie stuff going here. What do we got here? And center on that pot a little bit on the insert. One of my staples is virgin olive oil. Actually, for cooking like this stuff, where it doesn't go right into a salad or on some pasta or anything, pure olive oil is definitely good enough. Just as healthy, and you don't need to spend the money for extra virgin. Extra virgin's about. I mean, I know what virgin is, but extra, you never thought about it? Is that what an extra comes in? But strike that. Anyway, so one of my favorites, you always see as we go down the line of many of these programs to come, we got onions. Can't live without onions or garlic. But to caramelize the onions, rather than just put them in, you get some heat going, and basically caramelize is a fancy word for burnt onions. You cook them to the point where they're brown, and they become sweeter because it kind of makes sugar out of the sulfurs in the onion, etc. Right now, and really all the time during the year, we've got sweet onions around. We've got the Vidalia onions just south of Atlanta in Vidalia, Georgia. After that season's through, then we move to the Texas sweet onions. I forget if they have a name, maybe Shantex. Nah, just kidding. And then you can go, Hawaii has sweet onions. I think it's got something to do with the volcanic soil over there. Everybody claims to be the best. And after that, I guess you go into China or wherever. But sweet onions seem to be available 365 days a year, basically fresh. You don't buy them canned. I never even heard of canned onions. But I do the outside pieces. They're a little bit tougher and lend themselves better to caramelizing. This codger's opinion. It's not a Brooklyn Dodger codger, although he was actually in Brooklyn when they were there. Talk about dating yourself. I better date myself because nobody else is going to date me. Who's that, Rodney Dangerfield? Dating myself again. Getting less arguments that way, and it costs me less. Anyway, let's see what the rice is just starting to boil a little bit. We don't need to go chase that shot and see about that. We've got the caramelized onions coming up. While they are browning, we shall look at other veggies. Again, these are not recipes. I get recipe books and they drive me crazy. Once in a while, I'll follow a recipe. Somebody say, try this. There's some basic stuff, rice, couscous, whatever you're cooking. I mean, how much do you have to know about it? But one other thing you want to do, in my case, veggies and carrots are easy in that organic carrots are really common. Yeah, almost every supermarket carries them, I guess because they're that popular, etc. And carrots, tomatoes, certain fruits and vegetables do better if you cook them rather than eat them raw. This guy is so woody and firm that they tender up and give up more of their nutrients, and almost nobody doesn't mind cooking it a little bit. I don't cook it into a mush. I don't think I like anything that's mushy, including ice cream, whatever that means. So, again, organic carrots, they're so common, they're so inexpensive. That's the nature of apophatic fooding and kitchen. Keep the stuff around. Once you get to know and have it and put it on your list or your mental list when you go shopping, it just becomes automatic. You know where it is in the supermarket, whether it's a canned item or whether it's this. You just, first time you may have to look a little bit. A lot of places have organic food in one section coupled together and you just walk by. But now we got some nice stuff going there. There's a food that I like, which is code for I love. Brussels sprouts. A lot of people don't like them, can't deal with them. I don't know why, but you know, it's like kids not eating peas or whatever. But instead of keeping them whole, which may be one of your objections, cut them up, peel the leaves. Now, kind of looks, acts, smells, tastes like lettuce or something rather than if you have an objection to Brussels sprouts. So, and then you get all the benefits. These guys are major cancer fighters, like a lot of the cabbages and things in that whole family line. just wonderful to keep around and put in. The other thing I do, both with the rice, I think I see that guy bubbling up a little bit. Yep. Turn him down. Good boy, good rice. To a low boil. And we're on our way. Put that stuff in. It's been in ahead of time. You see little brown edges here and there. Quite good. Do one more Brussels sprout. Cut the edge off, take the outside leaves off. I don't like to waste, but that's kind of smart. You don't know who's been sitting on these Brussels sprouts. Yep. Peel them up. That's good stuff working. It is work, I gotta admit that. You know, like this is a little more work than most. Everything else is kind of, if I want to just cut them in half, that's what I'll often do also, especially if I'm having heartier food, maybe a steak or whatever, not too often. Cut them in half, broil them till they're charred, burnt on the outside, nicely done, and then just peel off that outside last leaf that got burnt in the broiler. Although that's for another show, we'll go through that. While you got the broiler working and heating up, the stinking rose of the kitchen, garlic. Not only are we going to put it in here, but if you take a garlic, peel it back, cut off the top a little bit, a few drops of oil, and then put it in with the Brussels sprouts so that they broil. They come out, again, they're browned on top, they're soft like butter. They don't have that sharp, classic garlic taste. It's like butter. You put it on bread or almost anything else you're making. It's absolutely delicious. But we'll go to that in one of our many programs. Now, cutting these guys up, you know, I got all kinds of tools. You got presses. Because the idea is to get at the oil. If you want to cut it up and get the most surface area and get at the garlic oil, that's where the flavor is. That's what's gonna, if I touch my eyes now, it'll make me cry. But the idea is to get at that small pieces of oil unless you want the big piece softened up, like I just talked about. But put that garlic in there. Can't have enough garlic. My only recipe for garlic is when the food's done, you stop adding garlic. But like right now, you keep adding something else, I'll come back, I'll add some more garlic. The idea about getting at the garlic and slamming it, that was the easiest way rather than worry. I bought some kind of a rubber thing that they tell you, roll it in it, the skin comes off. Everything's a pain. What's easier than that? Now, if you're 93-year-old and 93 pounds, you're right, you might not even have that in your fist. So, and I'm getting there too quick. But pretty much everybody else can learn to just give it a good slam with the ball of their hand. Gives you a nice rough cut for everything to just be available for flavor. Looking good. Look at these onions. I don't know if you can see how got nice brown caramelized. And there again, if we ever get around to making a steak on this show, get that guy down a little bit. Looking good. Now, I'm a green nut. Spinach, lettuce, kale. Kill me with kale. But kale's gotten pretty popular. I don't know why. You know, I like it. But obviously, it's healthy for you. You look it up, read out what it does for you, the fiber and all that wonderful green. You know, there's a couple of major colors. Everybody knows the reds from the tomatoes and even from the watermelon and everything like that, is quite healthy. Antioxidant, red bell peppers, etc. And put that stuff in. Now we got something again that's just, I don't use all that much, but it was on sale the other day, cauliflower. And this stuff, pink, goily cauliflower. Cut it up. There again, I read stories about how strong an antioxidant and anti-cancer this stuff is. You know, I'm not here to sell or push. I don't own a cauliflower farm. But look into it. And if it's good for getting rid of a disease, think about how many times better it is for not getting it if you're eating it, whatever you happen to be eating or liking. Like I say, so these are the veggies that I have on hand today. But you put in what you want. Asparagus is nice, just whatever you like. What's the difference? What recipe? Recipe's a rule. Who made up the rules? Why'd they make up the rule? What rule? Not only about cooking, everything. Paying taxes, red lights, moral issues. Who's making these rules up? And for what? I think somebody wants to control this old boy. Right? And that rule? Okay. Now, a secret. Normally, I'd put in a little more olive oil, keep that thing going. Or you could put in a veggie broth or something like that. This is what I stumbled on, and I said, wouldn't that be nice? Miso broth. Usually, mostly people use it for making soup. But now, cook this thing down a little bit. Adds flavor that you just normally don't get. It's light, doesn't add much calories, no fat. Hello! Look at this. Ah. Pretty. Look at the color, rainbow. And that's what they tell you, right? Is put a lot of colors on your plate, etc. So I used to eat crayons, but that got old. Yeah. Okay, what we got happening now is a time problem. The veggies are done, the rice is not. Now, normally you would look in and say if the water was absorbed, it's done. But here, remember I said you're going to have to check for el dente. No, it's too firm. In case Woody. So let's just let it cook. It's early. It's supposed to be 20 minutes. I think we're 10 into it, etc. So what we're going to do with the magic of television, get out of this guy because he's old. We're going to go into a time warp. And I'm going to meditate through it. See you in a few seconds. Hungry. Hungry. Still hungry. Still hungry. Whoa, here we are back. And the rice is just about done, like we talked about, the magic of time, 15 minutes and lickety-split. But that's in television. At home, you're just going to have to go watch some television for that 15 minutes. Food shows, apophatic food shows. Why didn't I think of that? But either way, some last-minute prep on this yummy veggies. Remember garlic. How can you have enough? You know, the later you cook it, the stuff I put in at the beginning, I mean, it doesn't have any bite left. It's been cooked out. So if you really like it, add some later in the cooking process. And the other deal is if you don't want it too sharp, small pieces. Cut little bitty pieces. And then even if you were to bite on one, it wouldn't bite you back too hard. So now we got this guy back in there, and I want to add
either baby lima beans, or if I had, I'd put peas in. They're even smaller and heat up quicker, etc. So we got that working, and a little bit more of either broth, or in my case, the mincemeat. Get that stuff working. Because we're going to put the rice on top of this and make it one big sloppy Joe. Or not so sloppy. Okay, again, we got him working. Let's see, is that rice in fact done? So again, reminder that normally, if all the water were absorbed on a 2 to 1 cup basis, you wouldn't have to be doing this. Not a high price to pay for potentially less arsenic. That probably didn't need to do it in the first place. All right, down the drain it goes. Bad, bad arsenic. I shouldn't overplay that, silly. All the years I've been eating it and never bothered with this. You can see it doesn't get to your brain. Brain? Those Johnny-come-lately peas heat up a little bit. And give you some technology back. Let's go this way. Now we're making rice. It's actually a meal. If you're vegetarian, this is a meal. And if you're not, whether it's considered a side dish or the protein that you normally have, make more than you need, put it in a refrigerator, use it the next day, the day after. Stuff stays wonderful, especially rice is absolutely no trouble, but the other stuff for a couple of days in the refrigerator, no problem. You want to take this a little bit to the east, you can take it to the east or take it to the west or take it to the woman that I love best. Now take it, shake it, shake it. But what are we putting in here? A salt product for some flavor, liquid aminos, fermented soy. You're used to it mostly in Oriental type restaurants. So you either put in salt or you don't have to. For me, I wouldn't. If I go out and I eat store-bought hamburger or something, like salt, I'm just sucking water. Or worse, wine or beer for hours after that. Salt, you could just buy that stuff with the little lady in the umbrella. Dirt cheap, iodized, but not necessarily. You can buy sea salt, very common, inexpensive nowadays. Take the ocean, let the sun evaporate the water out. Well, probably secretly done in a factory somewhere. Or Himalayan pink salt. Stuff actually does come from Himalayan mountains. It probably had an ocean at one point. Climate change? You mean the ocean went away? Probably before you and I were born. I always like that climate change arguments. But here we go. And I wrap it up and make it into a finer powder. Rather than these crystals. Oh, he's got it good. Just a dash. I don't need more. If you do, that's your business. The other thing you get for flavor and adding spice is crushed red pepper. A lot of pizza stores have it on their table. But
Same thing. I'll just crush it even a little bit finer. And this way, it adds a flavor and depth to the dish without standing on top and biting you. If you can hear me yell over this banging. Now we got all kinds of flavors in here. Mexican, Oriental. This is the big solution for all our problems. Did I mention that if you ate brown rice, if everybody ate brown rice, 6-7 billion of us every day, there'd be no more war. There'd be no more famine. There'd be no more governments. Everything would just go, you'd be in the Garden of Eden. Crazy statement, right? Apophatic thinking. Think about why it hasn't been that way. Well, you haven't eaten brown rice every day, so maybe there's a credible argument there, a critical thinking. We'll get more into that. There's something to it, basically about thinking differently. Okay, now what do we got? Let's get a plate. Real food, apophatic food. Loving it. Stay with us. We're developing many more programs, equally entertaining, both in the food area and in the thought, critical thinking area. I know it hurts, like exercise, thinking. But that's only in the beginning. And if you do a little bit at a time, trust me, the world's smartest man knows. I wouldn't lie to you. Not a politician. Okay, with that, step off. Oh, and let me get rid of the box. This way, it's a clean goodbye. I'm not so hungry. I'm not so hungry.